Hey friends, today we are talking about a fun topic that we actually get asked about a lot, and that is, how did you decide to live where you wanted to live, and how did you find land to do all the projects you're doing on? So that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about our top 4 tips for finding a place to buy land to call your own, and if you want to build your own house, you can do that too. So let's go through our 4 tips. So the first tip, know exactly what you want before you start your search. Sounds obvious, right? Well, a lot of people just think they want land, but don't really know what they want to do with it now and down the road when they go to buy. So for example, are you looking for a vacation house or a second home? Are you looking for a ski chalet? Are you looking for a beach house? Are you looking for a new single family home, your primary residence? Are you looking for a place that you can go for summer vacation with your family and house everyone for that family reunion you've been dreaming of? There's a lot of things you can do with land, and unless you know specifically what you want to do with it, it's going to be really hard to narrow down your options. So that's why we say, if you're looking for a single family home even, are you looking for land to build a house outside the city so you're still close to amenities? Or are you looking for a ranch where you can raise animals, have gardens, grow an entire orchard? You really need to get specific and do a lot of internal thought processing and even a little soul searching. And once you have a better idea, then you'll be able to use the parameters of that dream and what you want to do with that property to make sure that your search criteria follows that. And once you have really good search criteria, then you're not wasting your time looking at every available property in the area you're searching in. You're only going to find properties that are going to be able to help you do what you want to do. And that's going to save you a lot of time and energy and heartbreak. But let's go to tip number 2. Know what you can afford. Just like when they say on Say Yes to the Dress that you don't want to look at dresses outside your budget, you don't want to be looking at land outside your budget either. Again, it's a waste of time and you're going to get your hopes up for something that down the line you can't afford, or even right now. Another question, are you paying with cash or are you going to need financing? When it comes to financing land, things can get a little tricky. You may not be able to go to the regular bank that you would for a mortgage on a house that's already been built to buy raw land that hasn't been developed. And if that land already has a septic system or well access, that's gonna complicate things further. Another thing you wanna keep in mind if you're financing, you may need to put down 30 to 40% as a down payment in cash in order to qualify for that financing. So if you bought your house with 5% down and using maybe a first-time buyers program, that's not gonna fly for raw land. When we bought our land, we had to put down, I think it was 35% in cash, and that was our down payment. And the rest we were able to get financed through a local bank that specialized in farmers, ranchers, people that were looking to buy land to build on. Another thing you can look into is construction loans. I am not a certified financial planner or banker or mortgage specialist, so I'm not gonna give you any details about that here because I don't wanna get sued. But there are so many resources on the internet that you can use to learn about this. And if that's the path you want to go on, you want to look for construction loans, Google that, see what you can find, and you might be able to find a lender that will give you more information. But really the key is, if you're financing, look at something that's probably in the 40 to 50% range for a down payment and see if you can afford that, because that's going to limit you in a lot of ways. If you're paying cash, you already know what your budget is. So that makes things easy. Which brings us to tip number 3. Don't just look at the property itself, look at everything that's around the property. Sure, these views caught our attention, but it was also that no one else around us is doing anything that would bother us. There isn't a train depot nearby, a major airport, a landfill, a shooting range, anything that might be loud and bother us while we're on our property. And that really helped us narrow things down. But we wouldn't have known that unless we actually came out to the property, which we did, all the way from Florida, and made sure that this checked all the boxes. And by checking all the boxes, I mean the ones that were most important to us. You know, you're never gonna find everything in a piece of property. But with tip number 4, you might be able to find almost everything. Tip number 4, try and visit a property more than once at different times of the day before you put in an offer. Now, depending on the climate of buying land and where you're located, and I don't mean climate like the weather, I mean like the real estate climate, you may not have all that much time. I know when we bought our old house in Florida, we had to put in an offer that day pretty much, or we weren't even gonna be considered in the pile of other offers that were being put down. Land usually doesn't move that fast. It's usually not as hot as the residential real estate market, but it is something to keep in mind that especially in the summer, things can move quickly in hotter markets. So why are you gonna go visit a property more than once, especially different times of the day? Well, if you are looking at land in a busier area, you wanna know if traffic's gonna be an issue, if maybe you're near a school or another business that makes a lot of noise. Maybe you work from home and that's gonna be a problem. You may not know about summer storms that happen at that property. You know, there are a whole slew of things that can impact actually living, make the difference between visiting a property at one time of day on a Friday afternoon versus a Tuesday morning versus a Sunday evening. So if you're able to and travel to a property and check it out multiple times before you put in an offer, it's something we would highly recommend. We didn't have that ability because we were looking at property in Colorado while we were living in Florida, and we had a specific timeline that we needed to move by in order to be ready to do what we needed to do when we needed to do it. Sorry, that's cryptic, but it makes sense, and everyone's personal circumstances are different. So if you have the time, the funds, the capability, do yourself a favor, go check out the property more than once, different times, different days. It might seem like it's annoying to your realtor to do that if you're using one, but honestly, you might learn something about that property that you couldn't tell either from the online listing or by visiting it once on a weekend. So there you have it, our top 4 tips for finding and buying your own little piece of land that you can do your wildest dreams on. But just because these are our top 4 tips doesn't mean they're our only tips. In fact, as we've been talking to people about this since we bought our land and we're looking for land, we realize we have a lot of tips and things that we learned through going through this process. And that's why we've actually put all of them together into an ebook that you can read and peruse at your own leisure. If you follow the link in the description box below, you could download the book for yourself and learn our full list of tips to make sure that you're finding the right land that's right for you. Because one piece of land might work for someone else, but depending on what you're looking for, it might not be the right fit for you. And the last thing you want to do is figure that out after you've already bought it. And if you want to learn more about us and our journey and how we bought land here, you can always visit our website at lineupthestars.com. See you guys soon. If you want to know how unknowledgeable I was about Colorado before I moved here, I didn't even know that antelope were here. I definitely just thought they were anywhere. They weren't even in America. I don't know what I thought. I just never thought about antelope before. We don't have antelope in New England where I grew up. And now they just run through our property. It's wild, yo. It's wild.